Right, we're back. 28th of October. We're here to talk about all the news. Hey, a slight departure from. Hey, hang on. A different. Can't quite put my finger on it.
Hey.
Oh, so I got to put my mic up closer today. You can't hear me. So what's happening with you today, Nick?
Just trying to keep it fresh. How's that?
But you keep it fresh with
We've
the
got
mic
new mic
closer.
technology. Like, not only can I not see, but you can't hear anything that I'm saying.
That's good tech.
Yep. It's kind of censorship. It's kind of the opposite of what we're after here at Independent Reserve.
We're all about free speech and freedom of expression. Oh, my hair's gone the wrong way. We're off to a fight. It's opposite. It's the opposite. Like all I can see is myself in your mirror or your glasses, Nick. It's really off-putting. Like I want to be like talking to the people, but all I can see is my reflection in your glasses.
Anyway, welcome followers. Anyone who's new, this is not how we normally start the.
We'll normally know what's going on because G's here to collect the thing, and she's not here today, so it's just us shuffling along.
She's done it twice. You think we're like that reliant on the clacker?
I am. Just run with it, Nick. Like G's not here. Like I feel lost now.
Yeah, sorry. Guess I'm just chopped liver.
All right, I'm going to run through today. Seeing as we haven't stuck with anyway in tradition, I'm just going to make up a new tradition, which is actually introduce all the topics we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So that we give people a little bit of an idea about what's coming up. Because normally we just talk about stuff randomly, but today I'm going to run through the headlines. A bit of structure this week. So the stuff that we're going to talk about this week is there's a surprise. So last week we were talking about the shutdown with the US government. Apparently nothing was going to happen, but the exact opposite has happened. A bunch of stuff's happened, particularly with the ETFs.
Except that the government still hasn't.
The government's still shut down, yet they're still getting work done. So it begs the question, do they ever need to be open if they're still getting stuff done? The big news, or all the big news, because we only cover the big news, JP Morgan endorsing Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral for loans. Huge. That's pretty huge. Jamie Dimon has never been a fan of Bitcoin, but, just the actions speak louder than what he's actually said about it. Skinny Fed master accounts are apparently a thing. This is good news for some people. I guess for people who don't have accounts, bank accounts, you now get skinny accounts. I don't know what that means, but Nick does because he's actually read all the articles. Mm-hmm. Australia's on-chain activity this week. I didn't realise. I've always thought Koreans were huge into their DeFi. But turns out Australians are even more into their DeFi.
Or are they? Find out when we get to that point.
Hang around. Crypto legislation is continuing both in Australia, unabated in Australia and in the US. We're seeing developments across the board. There are moves in stablecoins, as we know. The stablecoins has been the actual big story of this bull run. I don't think anyone picks stablecoins. People will talk about all kinds of random stuff, but stablecoins is the thing. Now Japan's launching its own stablecoin. And they're bullish, as are we. CZ pardoned Trump this week. Jared came up to me.
Pardoned Trump.
Sorry, yeah, you're
That's
right.
Incredible.
That is completely the wrong way around. Jared came up to me today and he's like, CZ pardoned Trump. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? No, actually, you came up to me and said Trump pardoned CZ. And I was like, no way, what?
Heard it here first.
But it's true. It's true. He did, which is, okay. I didn't see that coming at all, but it's a thing. So Nick, again, I hope you've read the articles because I have not. And Ripple in its prime. There you go. That's a little play on words.
Because
they have bought a prime broker, and it looks like that acquisition, Hidden Roads, some friends of ours, they're about to get done. So well done to both those parties. And of course, Nick's here with some glasses on.
Am I?
Why?
I didn't even notice.
Oh, I didn't recognise you again. But you're wearing the right shirt this week. This week a bit of a change from past. I got a little sneak peek of some merch we have coming up for the Australian Crypto Conference. You can't see all of it. You're just going to have to use your imagination.
You slowly unzip as the podcast goes on.
Because I'm modest. We've got some merch coming up. So if you are in any way thinking of coming down to the Australian Crypto Conference, you should definitely do it. And come and have a chat to both the bitcoin.com.au guys and, of course, Independent Reserve. We'll all be there with bells on and some new merch, which I'm gradually going to reveal to you throughout the course of this episode. All right.
Okay. Good.
This week, how was that, Nick? Was that a better introduction?
That was good. Are we almost finished?
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. No, 5-minute intro. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Too long, too short? I don't know.
You can't shorten it much. You're going pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was trying to. Perhaps I should take longer. Yeah.
No, I think that was long enough.
No. Well, we're all about trialing things, glasses, new merch, intros, whatever. We'll trial it out. In the markets this week, so I'll do a quick summary.
Again?
Again. At what point is this summary going to end? Don't make the summary longer than the whole episode. But October can continue. So October 10. So Opt was definitely out of theme.
October?
Well,
You can either say October or October. You can't say October. Unless we're like getting a new opcode in Bitcoin, which I'd also be very excited about.
Well, if it wasn't live and we could redo it again, I would pronounce it properly.
Good. I mean, when you mucked up the first time, I'm like, that's cool, you have it. But the third time, I had to step in. Like, the audience they're gonna be dropping. Like, what is this? Is this even English?
We're going down because of my poor pronunciation of October.
October?
October? October is...
Yeah, maybe I should take over for a bit.
No. I'm going to get this right. Jared,
Alright,
restart the whole thing.
Yeah. Back in time.
October can resume in earnest after the October 10th crash. October 10th crash was pretty horrendous because Trump has been telling us there's deals, no deals. He's just playing brinksmanship at this point. Surely the markets can work that out, right? He just comes out and says something absolutely crazy, and then he kind of goes them backwards. He never had any intention of putting these giant tariffs on China. It's pretty clear now. They're going to get a deal, so the markets rally. But was he ever going to do it? No, it's just him just playing gamesmanship, and the market just sucked right into it. Anyway, Trump's come out and he says, you know what, we're back. We're going to do a deal. Mind you, he hasn't actually met with President Xi just yet, but the market thinks they'll get a deal done. So October, we might actually see a positive. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
October. So we might actually see a positive gain for Bitcoin in October.
Well, we're running out of time. So it's the 28th of August, as you mentioned earlier.
Do we have to wrap this up before the end of October?
Yeah, hopefully we get.
How much of a bump do we need to be up for October?
Well, right now the price is about 114,000. Close of business September 30, the price was 114,000. So we are flat as at the moment. In the beginning of October, we had really great time, new all-time highs, 126,000 US or so. And then that sort of got erased immediately as per what you were talking about before. And I think it was October 10 when that big liquidation event happened. And we dipped way down. I think we got down to 102 or 103, depending on the exchange you're looking at. And now we kind of had we hovered around 107 for a while, and now we're back up 114 as of last view. So really we are running out of time to make this in October. To put it in perspective, on average over the last 10 years, October has had an increase in the Bitcoin price of about 21%. Ooh. So we are way off that at the moment. I mean, if we can get to 100, if we can get to any green number that's not a negative number, I'll take it at this stage because it's pretty tight. But this is not where I'd want to be at the end of a 4-year cycle on the most bullish month ever.
Well, this is exactly what I want to be, Nick, right next to you, hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Geographically, proximity-wise, this is where I want to be. But in terms of the markets, it's not a happy time at the moment. Anyway, we still got time. We still got 2 days, three days. We've got 3 days to go.
Ooh, it'd be a glorious. We've got 20% up in the next 2 days.
Imagine that. Imagine the smell.
Yeah,
but I mean, we've got all this weird stuff happening. So should we talk sort of overall market numbers and stuff like that?
Isn't that what we just did?
Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, so the things that are currently affecting pricing at the moment are things like. Well, the reason why we've currently had this little pump we had the last couple of days is twofold. One is the meeting with Xi you talked about. Secondly, inflation numbers have come in a bit softer than expected, which is usually good for risk assets. I'm a bit skeptical about this because the numbers are actually the CPI numbers are actually inflated over the previous read. So we've gone from 2.9% to 3%, which is not great. Obviously, we want inflation numbers to go down. But they were expecting 3.1%. So the market's like, whoa, hey, we didn't go up as much as we expected. I mean, this is still not a great news. We want numbers to be going down to get real meaningful sort of cuts in rates. And then, that's where you see the real pump in the beta assets. But,
yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. So we've seen a little pump. We're expecting, I don't know if we rewind 6 months, everyone is talking about how there's 2 rate cuts to go, and it's basically, it's priced in, guys. Well, it's not priced in, but it's like it's a sure thing. Like this is absolutely happening. Look at the pressure Trump is applying to the Fed to get these rate cuts done. And here we are, basically end of the year. I think we've got 2 opportunities left for re-ratings of the cash rate, and we're probably going to get one, which is probably going to be this one coming up in the next, I think it's in a week or 2. Can't remember now. And we may get another one. But the problem is because of this government shutdown that we spoke about last week that is ongoing. According to the betting markets, there's like a 70 to 80% chance that this will be the longest shutdown in history. So, which means it has to go longer than 35 days. I think we're at day 20 or something at the moment. So yeah, this shutdown just doesn't look like it's going to get resolved. Problem with the shutdown is that all the data that the Fed uses to figure out whether they should cut rates or not not all the data, but a bunch of the data doesn't get fed into these guys. They can't use it because they don't have the agencies that provide this data don't supply it while the government's shut down. So the Fed has to be really careful here. They can't sort of make big, bold decisions because they just don't have the data. Having said that, they've got data from previous months, etc. It's not like all of the previous data was erased and they're completely blind like me. They're still able to use previous data and make decisions, and which is why we're fairly confident that we'll get at least 1 rate cut in. Yeah. But yeah, if we get 2, that'll be awesome. Maybe we can do some really cool fireworks before the end of the year. But October is in a bit of doubt at the moment. Hey Jared, can you look up when the next FOMC meeting is? I think it's in early November, but
data incoming. What do we got?
October 28th.
Oh, okay. No,
What?
It's happening in the next couple of days.
It's happening
okay,
now.
so we do have an opportunity for October to perform. If they knock off, imagine they knock off 50. Oh, then it'll be
Send it.
all-time highs.
All right. So that would be, I guess, tonight.
Yeah, tomorrow morning probably.
Tomorrow morning. All right. So we could wake up tomorrow with like double the Bitcoin price. Probably not. But
Probably not
we
double.
might see some fireworks tomorrow.
Yeah, could be. I mean, realistically, I reckon they're going to chop 25 off, which is what the market's expecting. So we'll get a little pump, but it won't be anything crazy, I think. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Okay. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I guess everyone can do that. All right. Well, should we jump in the news? Thanks for the market wrap.
Yeah,
all righty. Should we jump into it? So carrying on with that, we talked about this. We've been talking about this government shutdown. It doesn't seem anything's being shut down because, surprise, surprise, the crypto ETFs are still getting listed during a shutdown.
I love this.
Yeah. So talk us through it.
So this is quite funny. So they've done these listings for these ETFs they filed this 8A form, basically. Now, usually they have to file this. This gets quite technical. Usually they have to file this S1 form to get these listings done. But there's some technicality where with the 8A forms, I believe, they can put a special little, they just do a little hieroglyphic in the bottom left corner of one of the pages. And then that signifies that if the SEC don't come to a ruling, then it just automatically gets listed or automatically gets approved. It's like, hang on, what? There's some special little thing they write in there. They put a little caveat that says, if you don't tell me about, if you don't tell us not to, we're going to do it. And then that's legal and they're allowed to, and then boom, next minute they're allowed to list. So a bunch of these guys have got this caveat or whatever, this thing, this little loophole thing that you'd think everyone would just use. Or I guess this is why the SEC always has to kick the can down the road. They always come out with an announcement saying, we're not making an announcement on this ETF. We're going to defer it to, 2 months' time or whatever. Because if they don't, then everyone's probably got this loophole in their filing.
But because they're shut down, they're going, sweet, you can't block the loophole now.
They're exactly right. Because they're shut down, the government employees cannot go into the office to, make an announcement about how they're kicking the can down the road. So these things are getting listed, which is actually the opposite of what people are expecting, right? Everyone's going, it's going to be delayed. No, actually, if they were in, it would be delayed.
So you're telling me that all this progress is just being slowed down by bureaucracy. Who would have thought?
Yeah, that's right.
Will this create a rush of new filings with the same terminology put in?
I'm not a ETF filing expert. I would imagine that to file these ETF forms, you would need to actually they would need to accept it in the first place. I don't think there's some crazy loophole like that. I imagine everyone who's already filed it has managed to be in this Goldilocks zone, but anyone else who tries to probably will have to wait until the Democrats and the Republicans sort out their differences and You know what's interesting? Like, so Trump has no power directly to unshut down the government, right? He can't sort of sit there and go, right, that's it, I've had enough, you guys go back to work, kind of thing. It's still like it has to be hashed out, and agreements have to be made.
So who's deciding whether it's open or closed?
Well, so the problem is they've got these, what are they called? Not amendments. There's these 12 things, I can't remember, it's a word that starts with A, attributions, something, that get done every year, where the government basically decides, or the House decides what they're going to spend money on. And they have to be agreed, and usually it's no problems. But when they don't agree, then nothing goes forward until an agreement happens. And so, at the moment, it's basically the two, like the Republicans and the Democrats don't agree on some medical thing, or like the Republicans are going, okay, here's what we're going to do, and the Democrats are blocking it and saying, no, we're not going to agree to this until you put this medical thing into the into the payment system or whatever, like how we're going to spend our money. And basically it's just this stalemate, and one side's going, come on, let's do this, and the other side's like, no, we're not going to do it until. And so it's really up to sort of the whips of the House to apply pressure and try and figure out how they can get around this, because until this happens, like, what's the consequences? Okay, so government employees don't go to work, things don't get done, public parks and land, things like that get closed. The SEC is basically closed. It's going to take sort of public pressure of people, the constituents, to say, guys, sort your shit out, get back to work and continue running our country. Like, this is ridiculous.
And in the meantime, things are just going on all happy as Larry, and stuff's getting done without the governments. So...
yeah, I mean, like what we see, there's probably a bunch of stuff that's failing pretty hard right now. Like permanent damage does get done when this stuff happens. It's not like when they finally flick the switch back on, it's all good again, and everything that's was missed out gets reversed. Like, it costs money to shut down. They've got to do all this other stuff to recover from the shutdown, kind of thing. Hi, Katakuri from TikTok. Thanks for shouting out, by the way. Always
Katakuri.
love hearing from our. I was going to say customers, but it doesn't necessarily have to be customers. It could just be our
viewers.
Fans. Yeah. And Rob. Rob McGrath. Love him on YouTube.
And Rob's always here. G'day, Rob.
So what does this mean in general? Well, we just need to wait at this stage. So my point was, Trump has no direct power to fix this, right? He can try and put pressure and get people to vote the way he wants them to vote, which is classic Trump move. But my thoughts are okay, the second that he doesn't have the direct power to do something, to me in my head that immediately says, okay, he's going to try and do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go and just do something that everyone's like, what, you can't do that, and you're not allowed to do that, and you have no power to do that. And he's like, well, I just did it. Anyway,
just to flex on people. Didn't Trump do something like he tore down like the one of the wings or something to build a new ballroom or something? The East Wing.
Really? A ballroom?
He's building a ballroom. It's going to be, I guess it's going to be like in the real Trump style. So it won't be in White House style. It'll just be like water wall, like gold, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Democrats are up in arms about it, but of course they are, because Trump's involved.
Did you ever watch West Wing, the TV show?
No, I didn't. I know it was one of those good shows. It was highly recommended, but I never watched it. No.
So I've just started watching it with my wife. I think we're up to episode 10 or something like that.
You hooked?
And it's okay. It's old, right? It's like Rob Lowe when he's sort of in his early 20s, I'm guessing.
Really? That long?
Yeah, it's a lot of like actors that you recognize, but that looks very young. But it's kind of funny because it's a very Democrat. Everything's very much like before the Democrats became uncool. Like before they cooked it too hard.
Oh, okay.
On the left side, it was, they're doing all this kind of democratic stuff and for the people. And no one left behind and stuff like that. And it's funny now to think about how like the White House is full of the other side, the complete opposite. Where, it's interesting. I mean, it's like classic Aaron Sorkin, very like feel good at the end of most of the episodes.
Oh, right. Has it stood the test of time? Is it still?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It definitely hasn't jumped the shark too badly, but. I would say this. I'm still sort of taking it with a grain of salt. I'm not sitting there like learning. Whoa, wow, this is amazing. And maybe I'm just too cynical in my old age. But yeah, I should probably take my sunnies off when I'm watching it too. Make it a bit easier.
No, never take the sunnies off. You don't. Well, I mean, the reason you have the sunnies, apart from looking cool, is because you've got some weird thing going on with your eye.
Thanks for bringing the fourth wall down. Now everyone's going to know about my weird eye.
And it's not because of like anything untowards, right? No one's been mistreating you, have they, Nick? Like me.
I'm winking here.
Blink twice if you need help.
No, you are because I know your doctor did it to you. That's the problem. Sorry, we're really divulging way too much.
We could have gone the route where like we don't talk about my sunnies at all. We just pretend it's completely normal the entire thing. But instead, we decided to go the other way, where we talk about it constantly.
You know the golden rule, Nick. It's only weird if you make it weird.
Yeah, well, there's nothing's off limits here, apparently. All right, shall we continue?
We will continue.
Where were we up to? Oh, so next thing. The other thing so one of the ETFs I wanted to talk about that was listed was an HBAR and Litecoin ETF.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
how far down the risk curve are we going to go?
Pepe's up next.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have like a ton, or what was that weird one? Like a bonk ETF or something. Yeah, just seemed weird. So like looking at this one, it was a sort of a smaller issuer has listed this dual ETF. So it's not like you're buying a Litecoin ETF. It's a Litecoin and HBAR. If you buy into this ETF, you have exposure to both immediately. Like it's like a dual asset ETF. Like, why would they do something like that? I feel like they're like, oh, should we list a Ethereum ETF? Or there's like 1,000 of those. So they're just trying to do something different and hope to, pick up pennies in front of the railway or whatever that phrase is. But yeah, in front of this. No, well, steamroller, it's easy to get away. It's on the pennies on the railway track, isn't it? And trains like comes blasting through.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, steamroller's like that Austin Powers scene. It's like no. 20 minutes later, no.
Yeah, Jared can Google it. What's the exact expression? It's like that expression. How people would say the proof is in the pudding. It's like no, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like no one
it's
ever.
an eggcorn. It's called where you say something that sounds right and it makes sense, but it's not actually technically correct.
Yeah, the proof's in the pudding. No, it's not. It's in the eating of the pudding. Test it. You know what I mean? Anyways, so
the last thing on ETFs. Hong Kong listed a Solana ETF, which is cool. It's the first time anyone's done that. So they were, I think, technically in front of the US in their Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs as well. They've now popped in a Solana ETF. The thing I liked about this story, and I've written it down here, so we can read it. Oh, so China AMC is the issuer of this Solana ETF, and I think it's even a staking, like a staked ETF, which is pretty cool. If you rewind a few years, China ETF were quoted as saying they were warning people about the value of Solana could decline significantly in a short period, including going to zero. So this is what they previously said. Fast forward a couple of years, boom, listed an ETF under Solana.
Well, that's the perfect segue into talking about our next article. Jamie Dimon is the master of this. Now, the Dimon. Now, I'm guessing he doesn't know about us. If he saw today's episode, he'd probably hang around, seeing how cool you look in those glasses. But he has been one of the biggest vocal critics. In fact, he was out there sort of saying that, like, if he saw any of his traders trading, he'd personally fire them, or whatever that quote was.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure it was on the news. So he was talking about how much he hated, and if anyone from his bank was trading it, he'd fire them. But he was one of the first people to allow his customers to buy and sell it. The JPM coin, okay, it's not Bitcoin, it's JPM coin, their own internal token, which they use, was one of the first major US banks to adopt stablecoins for internal transfers. JPM coin, right? And now they're endorsing using Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral.
Yeah.
So
this really opened my eyes.
Right?
I was like, and wow, this is a big change.
It's big change, right? It's big change.
Now, Jamie Dimon has, as you say, famously hated Bitcoin, called it a fraud back in 2017, said if he was running the government, he would shut it down, et cetera, et cetera. But JP Morgan, the company, has for a long time now distanced itself from his kind of anti-crypto rhetoric. So I don't think it's necessarily that there's been this big flip. I think it's just he just hates it personally, but he's a commercial guy and he realizes that if he wants to make money, he needs to
get into it.
Ensure that his customers get access to it in some way. Now,
I think I was just looking for an angle here.
No, and it's a totally fair angle. I think, like, on the surface of it, it absolutely looked like that. And, as the guy who runs the company, you think he'd have a lot of sway in the strategy decisions that they make on this stuff. I guess he's just had to give up and say, look, I don't think this thing's real. But having said that, like, to allow customers to trade it is one thing. Like you're not taking any risk per se there really.
But now to collateral, right?
To allow people to use it as collateral for loans, that's like
they're
that's
now
crazy.
saying this thing has value and I'll accept it as collateral.
Exactly. So it's not as simple as that, I suppose. A, this is just an idea. They haven't actually. You can't do it yet. B, very likely when this thing goes in, there'll be big haircuts, very strict loan to value rate, loan to value ratios that you need to adhere to. So you put in $1 million worth of Bitcoin, and that counts as $500,000 of collateral, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they're not just going to let you do this thing, and go full degen on it, because Bitcoins obviously can be quite volatile. As the market cap grows, the volatility will reduce. I think we'll see. But obviously the trend, the direction of the market cap is pretty clear if you look at it on a long enough time horizon.
Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, I think it's very interesting. And, they're the biggest bank in America. Holy moly. This is not unprecedented, this idea. If you look back, like Goldman Sachs gave a loan to Coinbase, I think it was, a few years ago using Bitcoin's collateral. If you remember back to... it's like 2021 or whatever, back when we were using Silvergate and Signature, those sort of crypto-friendly banks in the US. Everyone was using them. It was awesome. They had a great product. It was very easy. And because all counterparties had an account with these guys, it just made everything very quick. They had product. I think Silvergate had a product where you could use Bitcoin's collateral, take out a USD loan. Fidelity has like some kind of product where you can do it as well. So this is not a first, but they're the biggest bank in America. It is a big deal, especially with the overhang of Jamie's sort of view on crypto. The fact that he's decided, what,
too big to ignore.
Exactly. I'll have to let this thing go at the moment, and maybe eventually, he'll decide that he's wrong, but he'll just let that fade into. He'll never come out and say I was wrong. He'll probably just, his actions will speak louder than his words, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Totally. All right, you're going to have to maybe take a bit of a step back and explain why this next one's kind of important.
Am I taking a step back or a step forward?
Step forward.
We want to move into the limelight, which is lucky why I wore my sunnies. If it's too bright, I don't have to.
We've got new shoes, so you can step anywhere. Do a little jig while you're doing it.
It's not. You could do a kickflip, maybe.
Do a kickflip. All right, well, you decide which way you're going to step. The skinny Fed master account. So when I first read this, I'm like, what? But actually, it feels like this is a bigger deal than, skinny master accounts, which to my understanding is kind of it's almost like if you're in a certain institution, it gives you access to effectively the rails for your own banking, right? So if you're large enough now, so they've listed a couple of businesses here like Custodia Bank and Kraken and Ripple as a couple of examples of people who may benefit from it. But if you're an institution of a certain size, you now effectively can have access to your own banking rails in the US. Yeah. Right? Is that my understanding of it? Okay, in a light version, you can't offer banking services or whatnot, but you actually now got your own. You're effectively plugged into the banking network as opposed to relying on another institutional bank to run your business.
Yeah. So this is an interesting idea. The guy, what's his name? Christopher Wallace.
Christopher Wallen.
Yeah. He's proposed this idea. It is just an idea at the moment, so they haven't actually done anything about it. But yeah, he's basically sort of trying to be friendly to the riskier asset classes, I suppose, like Bitcoin, and create this idea of having you don't get a full bank account with the Fed, but you get this sort of lighter version, as you said. There are a lot of caveats that make it probably not really workable in his current sort of idea. Obviously, again, I just want to overlay this with this guy hasn't come out with a bunch of rules and set them in stone and said this is how it's going to be. Suck it. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. It's just an idea he's floating at the moment. But the idea is that these kind of like crypto banks can get banking in some form. The problem with the suggestion at the moment is manyfold. One, it doesn't allow you to store money at the Fed, which is a pretty big deal, right? If you're a deposit-taking institution like a exchange or a bank, that's kind of a pretty important thing you want to do is accept money and hold it. So what do these guys have to do then if you have a skinny master account or whatever? you're going to have to store it somewhere else. So you're going to have another bank account anyway, either at some other commercial bank, or maybe you can store it in like a money market or something like that. But it's not ideal. It adds a bunch of overhead, and you're relying on a third party basically to manage your money. Secondly, you can't earn, according to what he's proposing, you can't earn any interest. So you don't get your 4% or whatever from the Fed, whatever the cash rate is, which again is a pretty big deal. A lot of companies, especially stablecoin companies, they live or die by
the yield
yield they can earn. You essentially, what you can do with this account is that you can send money. So you can kind of, as you said, you can use it as rails, but it's really just sort of a way for you to go, if money needs to go from one place to another, I can help you with that. But if you want to store it with me, well, I'm going to have to actually let you know that I'm not holding it myself, because I don't have the ability to store any money, with the Fed. So how useful is it to real crypto banks? Probably not that useful. It's a cool stepping stone, and the direction is absolutely right. We want to be able to create a way to open up, the ability for these crypto native institutions to get a foot in this kind of market. But at the moment, like with the way he's proposing the idea, it probably wouldn't be that useful to these banks. I mean, they would all take it, of course. Because they would, in their minds, it'd be a great stepping stone to becoming a fully fledged, deposit taking institution that has the full license. But in its current form, probably not that useful. But yeah, I mean, again, what I'm taking from this is that, it's not the Fed. Who is that Christopher guy? Where does he work?
Federal Reserve.
Oh, it is the Fed. Yeah, okay. So the Fed is obviously so much more crypto, like thinking about crypto, trying to figure out ways to make it work. And that's where I'm seeing this as. This is like, okay, this isn't really a solution that, like, it's not a silver bullet, but it's going to be, it's the right direction. Let's keep having these kind of conversations. That's how I see it.
So a step in the right direction. I mean, everyone knows who's been in crypto. And sorry, we've got to say hi to Mitch M from TikTok. Thanks for commenting on the story. Yes, you're correct. This story is about banking infrastructure rails, and it is critically important. It really is. And I think people really underestimate how challenging it's been for a lot of crypto businesses who just want to build some cool tech to be used. And the biggest hurdle for this adoption has always been the banking side of things, right? Right, and you can call it for whatever reason, and it's hard to pin it down to one reason. Everyone's, there's the people out there who say, oh, well, the banks do it because they're scared of like crypto, and I don't know if it's that, but there's also the other side of the banks going, we're scared because we don't actually know what you guys are doing, and there's risk concerns and all kinds of stuff. It's the truth somewhere, like, I don't know, mashed up between all these different areas. It's safe to say it's always been a perennial like headache, and the number one issue for most crypto businesses, I would say. The volatility is far less concerning.
Banking, I've always said banking is the final frontier when you're a crypto business. 'Cause everyone still needs to pay their bills somehow. You can't, as much as it's like, romantic to think about a crypto only, environment, it's not really possible realistically.
Well, unless everyone accepts crypto.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now.
It's just not realistic. Okay, but they will. Australia is also, a perennial challenge for the banking side of things. We have seen. In fact, we have been asked this question on this show many times, and people have been asking about, well, when are we going to get legislation in Australia? We will come back to it and talk about it in more detail later on. But we may be closer than I certainly suspected. But I've got my hopes up before, and I've been disappointed before. Before we get to it, because we're going to stick in order this time.
Okay.
For a change, I'm going to stick with the order of events as they.
I mean, don't promise anything you can't, fully commit to.
Well, I was going to talk about Australians on-chain activity, but let's talk about random spin it up. Let's see what we got. Australians on-chain activity. This has surprised me. I didn't think. Okay, this is adjusted for per capita, right?
Yeah.
But still, I didn't think that Australia would be. I don't know. Actually, to be honest, I didn't know who I was expecting. But it turns out Australia narrowly beat out South Korea as the most heavy users of do the most on-chain activity.
Yeah, like Aussie, oi, etc. But it's I reckon you're very right to be cynical and skeptical of this.
But this has come from
result.
16Z's State of Crypto, which is not Australian. Like this is
No, I don't think that.
arguably
Like,
very
what do we have to gain from this stat anyway?
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think according to their rating metrics and methodology, yes, sure, Australia is number one. But realistically, I think like the way they've measured it, it just doesn't. It's not a very useful stat.
Okay.
So if you look at the
Throw it
numbers,
out the
it's
window.
like what's our what was it? It was something like 1.9% of traffic they've noticed goes to like crypto-y kind of websites. And then but because our population's so small, when you blow that out, it's like, oh, we're like, we're beating South Korea. And it's like, okay, I don't know. And it's not even a real, there's nothing on chain about this study either. It's all sort of, who visited CoinGecko? I don't know. I'm a bit cynical about this.
Do you think there's a correlation between Australia's gambling obsession and our on-chain activity?
I mean, for all we know, it could just be Australians getting scammed.
Exactly.
And it's got to do with our obsession with romancing people on the internet. I don't know. But yeah, I guess.
I mean, the other thing is like there's other sort of, I just don't think it's a great methodology they've used. So, in South Korea, for example, it's a predominantly sort of app-based, demographic, and they can't measure that. They're not measuring app interactions. They're measuring when if you're on your phone most of the time, you're going to be using apps more than websites, and they can't measure the apps. They're just measuring when you go to a website. So, like anything that's English speaking is going to be more highly rated because often with the localized versions, again, it's going to be in some kind of captured portal or an app where they can read in their native language, and again, it's not captured by this study. So. It is interesting, like, and it makes sense. We're a first world country, and if you're like doing this pro rata thing, per capita, it's gonna, we're gonna do pretty well because we're pretty technologically advanced. Historically, we've always been, like, quite at the forefront of technology, like in a lot of ways. Blockchain is control in a good way. Blockchain is control in a good way. From Mitchell Murphy. Trying to figure out what you mean by that.
He said it eliminates money fraud and abuse.
Not sure if I agree with that fully. I like the idea though. It definitely increases transparency. So if some kind of regulatory body wants to find out what you're doing and everything's on chain, it's hard to hide from that, I suppose. But what about non-KYC coins? What if I go and do a deal with you after this show and we're just like, you just send me some coins and now I've got a new wallet.
And I have a new pair of glasses because that's the only thing I'll trade with you.
That's right, yeah. Won't be cheap.
Okay, well, fine then, Nick. I throw that article out. Nobody wants it. Doesn't mean anything.
No, yeah, look, it's cool and, as I say, fun to be Australia on the top. Aussies often punch above their weights, etc. But I'm pretty sceptical of this one.
Okay, well, this is a little bit of a segue into some other stuff that's happening in Australia. And this is okay, so I think a couple of weeks ago, someone asked me this question. And I was like, we're not going to see anything in Australia with regards to this particular thing forever. And it turns out I was wrong. Not for the first time, but we saw some draft cryptocurrency legislation, for the consultation period, which concluded on Friday. So Treasury came out and was kind of like, oh, hey guys, here's our draft legislation. What do you think? And we're like, cool. Now, I think if I was going to give a bit of a wrap on that, so I know Adrian and the guys had been, advocating for having a regulation in place. And I think just to put it in context, why should regulation be a good thing? I think a lot of the industry, generally speaking, is like, oh, well, if we have regulation, we'll all get bank accounts. It gets back to that. And I think, well, that's definitely the wrong way to look at it because it definitely won't be a magic bullet for getting a bank account. But more importantly, for consumer protection, think about, and I'll use independent reserve as an example here. Like, we know how hard it is to keep assets and funds secure on the platform. Being a crypto exchange, you're constantly the target of bad actors. The amount of effort and energy the guys have had to spend on coming up with a cold storage solution, which is world class, is not cheap, and we don't even charge for that, for example, right? And we go through and we've done all this thing like the get 2700 certified, and you get all these things like financial audits and all these things that are cost you to be a good corporate citizen. And people go, well, shouldn't you just do that? It was like, well, yeah, we're trying to do all this stuff, but the reality is we can have someone out there, and I'm not for a second suggesting like a lot of our main competitors don't do this, because we know they definitely do a lot of work on this as well. But there is actually nothing in the legislation that says you can't just have it in a USB drive in your CEO's desk, for example, right? And that is true. That is frightening to think that right now, as of today, like there's no. I guess this is not. I'm definitely not a lawyer, so I mean I'm using hyperbole here, but like, I'm sure there's like some common law things, some reasonableness about whether you've done the right thing, but there's actually nothing really that says no, you can't. Like it's not reasonable to say that you can't have it in your CEO's drawer. Right? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Well, and that should frighten a lot of people. But
there's just no rules at all.
There's no rules at all, right? Yeah. I mean, you can't just be negligent and like you've still got to, be. Anyway, look, I'm not a lawyer, but the point I'm trying to make at is it's terrifying to think that there could be platforms out there, even as of today, that have. And I don't know the ins and outs of everyone's cold storage and security, protocols, but there could be assets, people out there with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets, and they're just held, or they're mixed with other, assets, or their personal assets, or all kinds of nonsense could be going on.
I mean, the emperor was, wearing no clothes when FTX shut down. Right?
Correct, right? Yeah. And like FTX is a great example, and and right now, and so a lot of the industry has been saying, like pretty much everyone's like, no, bring in some regulations so that all the people who are working really hard off their own volition to do the right thing can separate themselves from people who are just taking the piss. Right? And initially when we were sort of saying, like, this is Adrian talking I won't pretend to do my Adrian accent, but like, from day one he was arguing that we should bring this in and we should regulate at the exchange level, even though that meant greater onus on us, right? But it's the right thing to do. And then, the consultation papers, and there's endless consultations and endless changing, and that we almost had some legislation, government changed, they came out and said, we're going to do some other random thing. And then all this stuff has gone by, and guess what they've come back and done? Regulated the exchange level like we asked 10 years ago. Right? Yeah.
If they just knew what was good for them, they'd listen to us at the beginning.
It's just...
Why don't they just let us do this? Just back away.
I just find it hilarious that it's taking 8 years to come up with what the industry was suggesting from the get-go, and they're finally doing it. But credits where credit's due, it is now, we have draft legislation, and Australia might actually have some laws around this stuff. Although, depends on who you talk to. So, I mean, this feels like the closest we've been really since we were last close. But last time we were closest, look, it's been like 2-3 years since then. So then, there's definitely a lot of look, we'll have to see. And of course, the politicians, I think I've said before, I think they would like to get something done, but they've got other priorities as well. But the question here is, when will we see it within our lifetime? But more specifically, maybe we'll see it next year. Ed Carroll. So people are still, I guess, critical around whether this will happen, and I guess some of the details still need to be threshed out. Ed Carroll, who's a mate of ours and a mate of mine I know, well, he has been quoted, and he says that we probably won't see legislation introduced before the end of 2026. But I don't know, I feel like that's kind of bullish.
Yeah, right.
How do I phrase this? Like, I think that would be a good outcome.
Syndrome.
We're saying, we won't see stuff until the end of 2026. And it's like, if you had asked me this question before I'd seen the draft legislation, I'd have been like, before I'm 100. So 2026 feels like a good trade. You know what I mean? Yeah. Admittedly, I'm 99 now. You just can't tell. Yeah. So I guess it's the same. But you know what I mean?
Your biological age is 14.
Hey, well, after our fasting last week, you reckon I've youngered my biological age? Have we gone backwards?
Certainly haven't altered your vocabulary. But,
Did you guys see Trump's cardiac doctor? Is that how you got that age?
No. Tell us more about that.
Oh, Trump's doctor said that he's got a cardiac age 14 years younger than his actual age.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this all that bleach he injected when he got COVID? Or whatever he did? Injected sunlight? I can't remember. He did something strange when he got COVID, from memory. No, okay. I didn't hear that. That's. I'm sure it's 100% true, though. Released by a Trump Foundation. Trump Media. Look, I'm probably a bit more cynical than you. I feel like this is one of those things that's just been coming forever. Yes, it does seem like there's a bit more momentum that there has been previously, but yeah.
Well, Trump's. So we're going back into Trump's age. Okay, there was a news article that said but also it was probably one of his mates that he plays golf with, who's a lifelong Republican donor. Who knows?
Yeah,
It's hard to know who to believe these days, apart from me and Nick.
Yeah, believe these guys. You can trust me. Can't even see my eyes.
Yeah, I know.
I could be like furtive as just looking around. Real twitchy.
Should we? I won't ask you. I'll come back to your eye, Nick. It's. I mean, for the people at home, you can't see, and that's a good thing because Nick's doing you a favour by looking cool. Mostly.
You're welcome. All right, let's move on. So hang on. Was that part of the Australian DeFi?
That was,
topic?
yeah.
Okay,
We've matched together the on-chain activity stuff with some of the
Cool.
legislation. We're now moving on to US legislation.
Yeah.
So the big news, as we've been following for the past few weeks, has been all about the Democrats trying to kill crypto, and apparently they reckon they weren't. So they came out, and apparently the news about them trying to kill it was actually a leak. They were trying behind the scenes. They were furious. They're like, no, you've made us look like the bad guys here. We weren't trying to kill it, guys. We were just trying to negotiate with you. And
Did anyone check if they were crossing their fingers behind their back at the time when they said? No, I thought the whole thing was a leak. Like the whole, counter proposal. Not just that they were trying to kill DeFi, but like the whole thing like wasn't actually meant to get out. They were just like, here's the thing for you guys to read, and then someone leaked it to the press, kind of thing. With the same results, I guess, is what you're saying. But yeah, would you want to take this question?
Thank you, Robert. You'll have to wait until the end of the show. There will be apparently the people want to see further stripping, Nick. Stripping of what? I'm not quite sure. I assume the jacket, but you know, I've only got one thing to strip. You might be less impressed than I've made it out to be. I might have oversold it.
That's what she said. All right. So yeah, US. So as far as I can tell, the Democrats have come back with like a counter proposal to this, crypto structure markets bill, whatever it is. And it's kind of inevitable. They're going to want to put in some stuff that protects them, and I'm guessing mainly stops the Trump administration and the Trump family from further profiting off the American people, I suppose. Yeah, and so they've come back with this thing. We spoke about this last week. There was a bunch of crypto, like people from crypto industry, invited to come and chat about what they thought about it. Last week, our sort of general overarching comment was that it seemed like there was a lot of centralized entities at this meeting when the real, consequential debating point was around DeFi. So it seemed like DeFi was a little bit underrepresented, I should say. There was still some DeFi, participants there. Anyway, as far as I can tell, it's like Brian Armstrong from Coinbase has come out with like a bit of an update on what's happening and the latest, which is cool. Like he's kind of telling everyone where they're at and what the latest is. He's basically said, look, we've it sounds like there's this whole thing where the Democrats have come in and tried to torpedo this whole thing. It's not like that. We've made a lot of great progress. It's basically 90% done, except for the DeFi stuff. Now, again, cynically, the way I'm looking at this is, Coinbase is going to have a lot of sway here. They're a massive company, have a lot of friends in the US. They've probably sorted out themselves for the 90%, which is what they care about, and DeFi is probably a lower priority on their list of things that they want to talk about, and that's the bit that hasn't been sorted out. So it kind of doesn't surprise me that we've ended up here where they've probably ticked off all the things they're interested in, and now they're like, all right, let's figure out this DeFi thing. Having said that, Brian's tweet about it seemed like it hit all the right notes for me. He's talking about making sure that everyone, the regulation is where it's supposed to be, and we're not regulating protocols, we're regulating, the entities like Coinbase, for example, which I agree with. But, where do we go from here? It still seems like we're no further along than we were before. Mm-hmm. We still have this, the elephant in the room is this, how do we do DeFi? Obviously, Democrats have their opinions. The Republicans, they proposed the bill initially in the first place. I don't know.
We shall see.
Let's see next week. Maybe they've got someone.
We'll continue. We'll definitely continue on this one. It feels like there's still plenty more twists in the tail of getting this DeFi bill through. Right, moving on to stablecoins. So the stablecoin market, as we've been talking about every week, seems to just be gathering strength. More and more institutions, more and more countries want to participate. Even Australia right now. So the guys over and look, Australia's always competes really well in silent. There's many of our viewers are probably aware of Red Belly Network and the work those guys are doing. And now they're doing pilot programs with the RBA, for example, on their stablecoin project. Those guys are killing it. They're doing heaps of stuff and tokenization of everything right now. So all this stuff's happening, and that work's gone in conjunction with a lot of research from Sydney Uni. They're doing partnerships with the DFCRC, which is Australia's, innovation body. It's a really broad-based ecosystem that those guys are producing. And I wouldn't be surprised. I always feel like Australia's going to somehow punch super above its weight when it comes to all this kind of stuff. From like a little corner in the world didn't know it was there doing its thing until all of a sudden. Not to give the Red Belly guys the pump, but good on them because they're killing it.
Yeah, which would be interesting if it did happen, considering the state of our regulation at the moment. So backward and yet.
But somehow, they just might be. But the news that we had to cover off today was in Japan has launched its own stablecoin, a Tokyo-based fintech. Now, I trust the Japanese to do something really cool with it, right? They just have that ability for whatever reason. So JPYC is the first yen stablecoin that's been backed over there by banks and government bonds, and they're looking forward, to doing that. So, but I guess the real major bit of stablecoin news this week has been Western Union, in my opinion. So remittance firm Western Union has now, this is kind of like a bit of a Kodak moment for them, right?
Yeah.
Right, they've got to either go, you know what, we have to migrate and use our network to move into this new tech, or we're going to be like, we're totally going to Kodak moment ourselves here.
Yeah.
Right.
Self-own.
Yeah, and so what was the exact words? So they've launched they're launching a stablecoin program to reduce reliance on its legacy corresponding banking system.
Yeah.
Which is
Swift.
Yeah, right. As soon as you call your own tech the legacy system, and Western Union is probably moved $1 or $2 on its day.
Yep. Blockchain would be great for them. I've got nothing much more to add to that, to be honest. This is a classic stablecoin narrative we've been speaking about for months, I feel. It's definitely the current meter. But yeah, as each new company comes on board, it just sort of strengthens the use case. So obviously we're going to start seeing it used in the wild soon and be using it without even realizing we're using it,
And even in Australia, we have, a number of reliefs. So there's, 3 major Australian stablecoin projects, AUDM, AUDF and AUDD, all of which, I believe all of them, or maybe at least AUDM and AUDF, got, relief letter from ASIC to say that they can,
play in the sandbox.
They can play in the sandbox, yeah. So they've got, what's the word? It's not a green light to do everything, but it is basically saying, we're going to let you guys try this product in Australia.
We'll see if it works. Try some stuff out. Rob has come up with a good question. USDT has just historically always been the strongest, continues to be so. Is there space for other stables? It's a good question. I think. Those who just give up and decide, USDT have too much of a head start. If you don't try, you can never possibly succeed. So it totally makes sense to me that a bunch of others are going to come out and try and do it. A lot of these other stablecoin projects, for example, like the Japanese one you mentioned before, they're going to, the idea behind their launch, their edge that they believe they have is that they're going to, be a more regulated entry. Like a more regulated player, because Tether historically, famously, is so unregulated, very murky. Where are they out of? Are they out of the Cayman Islands? Are they out of BVI? Are they out of it's one of those things where they're in one of these weird little sort of tax haven countries that they're operating out of. Let's see some audits. Well, no,
what do you mean?
It took 10 years to get audits. I don't even know the state of the audits actually. Did we ever get any? I'm not sure. So I think there's a lot of stablecoin companies that look at that and go, hang on, if these guys were able to get such a big market share, imagine what we can do. And we're audited, we're regulated, we're blah, 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 blah. So I think they're all going to come in.
We've seen a huge race in the US. A lot of the US banks.
Yeah, exactly. And they all think they've got their edge. because they've got the huge user base already. So I think it makes total sense that they think they can take a piece of the pie. Can they actually? That's difficult. There's going to have to be some because one of the reasons why Tether is so strong is because you look at DeFi and it's just integrated everywhere. Pretty much everywhere you can just deposit Tether.
Though I guess it depends on what the actual stable coins themselves are being used for. For example, JPM coin is not a token that is being used for retail. It's not it's used for individuals. It's being used for inter-branch settlement, right, between Europe and the US businesses, right?
Yeah.
It's being sent. So
interbank kind of stuff.
So right now I suspect that there's zero interbank lending between sort of Bank America and, I don't know, another big Chase Bank or whatever in the US. They're not using USDT, but they're trading with each other billions in various products and tokenized, well, eventually bonds and everything like that would be tokenized, for example. And how would settlement for those instruments being done? I guess they would be trading with each other in their own stable coins or whatever for ease of transaction and efficiency gains that come off the back of that. So we're talking predominantly about the crypto ecosystem as opposed to just replacing of the payment rails for existing fiat rails. Does that make sense? So that still dwarfs the entire crypto market.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
That'd be sort of my take on it.
You're totally right. But
thanks, Nick.
you get
to get it
on
record.
Yeah, right. It might be the last one. Just
don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's for a bank to flip its rails is a big deal. It's not easy. It's not something that happens overnight. And it's kind of one of these things. Like I remember back in the day when iPhones first came out, and all the corporates were on BlackBerry, right? and that was sort of the standard. There was a BlackBerry server. It was very easy to manage. You would everything would just work nicely. But the fact is, the CEO's daughter got an iPhone, and he was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." He got himself an iPhone, and then next minute, like if the CEO's got an iPhone and everyone else is relegated to using a BlackBerry, they're like, "No, I want to use an iPhone too." And it's this sort of retail first kind of drive. And sure, like everyone, all the corporates still, and the IT department or whatever still want to use BlackBerry because it's very easy to manage. But if everyone wants an iPhone or a smartphone, they're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know. I see that's maybe I'm too deep in the trenches, but that seems to be where it is for me. Like all the remitters use Tether, right? They use what's easy for them. They use what gives them optionality. They use they want to use what their customers use. They want to make it as easy as possible.
Of course.
And so they use Tether. And even though, for me the killer use case here is not necessarily the rails, but the person who offers the easiest yield. So at the moment, Tether, takes your USD deposits, gives you like this token on mints a token on this network that's really worth nothing because you just have to trust that Tether can always be redeemed for $1. But then they've got US dollars there and they're earning 4% or whatever on it. Someone's going to, and I think Circle are going down this route. They're going to start offering a way to earn some of that yield back.
Yep.
And then that to me seems like the killer use case, the killer way another stable coin, if they do it in the right way, can really take market share, like meaningful market share of Tether. Yeah. Or Tether are going to have to innovate themselves and go, all right, we've had a pretty good run up until now. It's now time we're going to start, making it really easy and just give back some yield that we're earning. Obviously, there's a bunch of regulatory issues there, and I think we've got a topic about that maybe a bit later, or maybe we can talk about it now. But one of the things that, in the US, the banks are they really don't want these stablecoin projects to be able to distribute yield to retail, because they're like, well, how do we make money then? Our big thing is we can earn money on yield, but if stablecoins are just giving it straight back to the users, well, that's not fair to us, is it? And the users are like, we don't give a shit. Like, give us our yield. You're earning it. Why
how
can't
dare
I
they have a level playing field with us?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the this loophole the banks are claiming these crypto companies are doing is right now, I think in the Stable Act, you're not allowed to give retail this yield for some reason. But what the stablecoin companies, and we can use Circle as an example, is they'll issue this stablecoin like USDC, for example. They'll partner with an exchange like Coinbase, for example, and then Coinbase might offer some kind of rewards to the users for interacting, which ends up being like this yield that they're getting from the USDC. And so it's sort of this separate pathway where they still are actually technically paying their users for the yield. It's just, through this other way, and the bank's like, hey, there's a loophole, we need to close that up.
Yeah, okay.
And meanwhile, the other side, like the crypto guys, like, this is not a loophole. You guys are just trying to, like this protectionism of your, you need to like get with the times and figure out how to make your business model work. Because if it doesn't work, then that's on you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, very fascinating topic. It's obviously stablecoins is a big thing. It's not as exciting. Like, you can't really invest in stablecoins per se. I guess you could sit there and plonk it, and earn some yield on it, I suppose. But who wants to do that when you could buy Fartcoin and then watch it go down 80%?
I have seen. In fact, there was a meme going around. There was a guy who was doing TA analysis on like a really zoomed in tether chart. I'm not joking.
Serious?
You can look it up.
That's so good.
These people exist. Anyway, we're going to go. Okay, we've been talking about regulations and stablecoins. Honestly, I didn't believe this news. So Jared told me, he's like, "Oh, CZ pardoned Trump," and I was like,
"Can you stop saying that? Can you say it the right way around, please?"
Yeah, I've got that wrong. CZ pardoned by Trump. I missed a critical word there.
Okay. Or you could just say Trump pardoned CZ. But anyway,
pardoned by Trump. Anyway, CZ pardoned by Trump.
Pardoned by Trump. We'll probably see that later too.
See that? I didn't believe this when it came out. Jared comes up to me and he said it the right way. CZ pardoned by Trump. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. As if that happened. But it did happen. Like,
so
hang on.
Tell me why you don't believe it.
No, I'm just saying it. When I first heard it, I was like, that sounds ridiculous. My question was, why would Trump pardon CZ? Like, he was already out.
Yeah, actually, I investigated this a little bit as well.
Okay, so he was already out.
Yes,
he admitted guilt. He did his time, and then it's still like,
and the fine was already paid.
The fine was already paid, and then they're like, you know what? You didn't do it. Oh no, sorry, you didn't do it. It was all this forgiven. It's kind of like, well, give me the $4 billion back.
Yeah, we didn't find CZ $4 billion.
Like, or like, give me 4 months where I live in your house instead of jail.
That's right. No, he just gets a get out of jail free card.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You can reduce any future sentences.
By 4 years, right, or something. Or 4 months. Oh, sorry, 4 months. Yes, sorry, 4 months or whatever it was, right? So I was just kind of like, it didn't make sense to me why he would be pardoning someone or Trump would be pardoning him, and you know what I mean, like. It's not like he was like, oh, I'm innocent. I proclaimed my innocence the whole time. Like, none of it made sense. But anyway, it happened.
No, and I totally agree. Sorry, let me step in. I totally agree with you. But I think this is like a product of us being too much in this bubble where it's like, he went to jail, he did his time, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, the past is in the past. The fact is, this dude has got like this jail record. He can't, he can't get a driver's license. Or, he can't. All these issues with having been, a convicted criminal in the US, basically. So it makes sense to me that he'd probably want to get that stuff expunged. Having said that,
he pleaded guilty to things that, if he wasn't guilty,
yes. Well, yeah. Okay, I can't answer to that, but yeah. I think we're being a bit too sort of blasé about the fact that this guy's life, whether he's done bad stuff or not. Like, it makes sense to me that he would actually want to get this stuff to get pardoned by and like, imagine being pardoned by the president of the United States.
It's cool.
That's a pretty cool thing to have in your resume.
Super cool. It's super cool.
2025, pardoned by the US president.
I'm just wondering. It's kind of like, did CZ? And I don't, for what it's worth. I mean, I don't know CZ, but he seems like actually a pretty good guy. And like, he probably took a fall for the fact that there was gaps in his organization. And ultimately, he's responsible for that stuff. I don't think he was out there going, "Hey guys, let's launder stacks of money."
Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Let it ride.
Let it ride, baby. Okay, he got caught out, but like he was responsible, and there are other CEOs of other businesses that who've taken the fall for stuff that happened under their watch.
No, I totally agree.
They can't get licenses either. So why does CZ get a?
So what? Well, have they gone to jail? But what's the consequence of this in my mind? Okay, so it is what it is. He got pardoned. What next? What does this mean he can do? What's in the?
Well, isn't he coming
there's a lot
back
of
now
links
as,
between World Liberty Financial, like the Trump, crypto organization, and CZ. There's there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of links there in the background that make me think there's something else going on here. And there's pardoning him is step one to this other master plan. That's just me sort of being conspiracy theorist. What I also liked about this, CZ. CZ. I'm doing a U now. Trump in his statement. Someone questioned Trump in his statement about this. And Trump's like, oh, is that the crypto guy? I don't really know anything about it. Like, and so hang on. So to me, there's one or two things happening here. One, Trump isn't actually making any of these decisions. People just put stuff in front of him. He's like, yeah, whatever. He's becoming like a senile Biden, just signing what's in front of him. And really like Baron Trump's, the puppet master in the background, just deciding what needs to happen in the cryptos. Like Baron's his crypto guy and just tells him what to do, and he just like blindly signs it. Or two, this is like Trump knows he's going to go to court like in the future at some point about this stuff. And so he's setting up this scenario where he can point back and go, no, you can see, I publicly said I didn't know who that guy was. Like when they come and say, hang on, but you let this guy off. And now we've found out more information. He actually was a massive crook and, he was bribing you and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Again, this is very conspiracy theorist, but like what are the other options here? Like why would he say publicly, I just pardoned someone, I don't know who he is? You got to know who you pardon. It's a big deal.
Okay, so. The Ross Ulbricht one I get, but like this one I just didn't get, and maybe
even the Ross Ulbricht one's is like the same. Like as much as I think it's the right thing to do in the Ross Ulbricht case, I still feel like there's got to be more to it because he just doesn't know who these people are.
Can SBF is next?
Did we speak about this last week?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this because I don't like it.
Last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
I know.
But I can understand how CZ kind of comes across as a bit like, he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He wasn't necessarily a crook. Okay, some bad stuff happened. His organisation got too big too quick, and some things slipped. But it feels like it was a bit of a victim. The crimes were a bit victimless in a lot of way, except for the money laundering. But I don't know. Like why are we going straight from CZ into SPF?
Well, I think that's almost a fair call, and I'm going to. This is like personal opinions only, not the opinions of Independent Reserve or anything like that. Not that any of this stuff is Independent Reserve. This is just me crapping on. But there is a post. There's a Reddit post back in like 2019 or something like that, a long time ago, where the OKX CEO, I think it's OKX, a guy called Star, posts this big Reddit post about how CZ, because CZ used to be the CTO of OKX, okay? And when he quit, he there was all this bad stuff that was happening. And according to this post by Star, by this OKX CEO, CZ had done all this bad stuff while he worked at Thing, including like forging documents, forging signatures, talking about like relationships that didn't exist, being completely incompetent. So he's the CTO, meant to be like this big tech guy, knows a lot about tech, has no idea about tech. Anyway, I don't know if any of this is true, but it is damning if it is.
Really?
At the time, it seemed like the general sentiment of this post was everyone was like, get on with your life, Star, like the OKX guy. You don't know what we're talking about. This is just, you're a sore loser kind of thing. But if you look at sentiment these days, it's much more on everyone's pointing back to that going, look at this, like the signs were there kind of thing.
Right.
About CZ. Now, again, I have no idea
controversial,
what the truth is, because obviously I had nothing to do with that, wasn't involved at all. But it is kind of interesting. There's two sides to this story, I think, and CZ, I totally agree. Up until I sort of got introduced to that post a little while ago, I was like, CZ definitely portrays this nice guy. Like I remember there's a post about him, like he cuts his own hair kind of thing. Like he's not some big diva CEO who's like working people to the bone.
We all remember that image of SPF like just eating a cucumber.
Exactly. Oh, and he was a master of it as well. SPF even more than CZ, I would say, with all those silly interviews he did about being a philanthropist and only driving like a second-hand Nissan Seeker or whatever. Like there is Oh, okay, man. SPF, you're about to get, if you don't know, SPF
you've not seen this. So I apologize in advance. Sorry, not sorry.
And just putting this out there, this was before like AI became deep fakeable. Like this is a real photo. He somehow let people take of him.
You would constantly see Sam like in like images of like him with like shoes not done up, or he would blob up with like one shoe missing.
It was just like a messy character.
Just a messy character.
Yeah. Like his hair wasn't cut properly. He didn't do his own haircut. He just didn't cut it.
What was the altruism? They had that slogan. They were like, it wasn't just altruism. They had like a term for it.
Yeah, you're right.
What was that term? It was like, I don't know. I can't remember. It was like mega altruism.
Effective altruism.
Effective. Yeah, something
like that, right?
Something altruism, and they all they at least they projected. No, it wasn't effective. What was it called? It was called. Oh, maybe you're right. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, it was
SBF,
something like
SBF,
that.
some kind of
Yeah.
altruism. There was a word for it.
Yeah, where he wasn't.
And
in it
he's
for the
like,
money
whatever
and,
we
yeah.
do, it's all justified. Assume, and it's kind of this, again your point. It was one of these things where he kind of. It's almost like you could see the signs that he was the kind of person who would do anything, no matter how wrong it was, if it kind of like fulfilled his own sense of this self belief that he had that he was the good guy.
That's right. Yeah.
For whatever it was all called altruism, effective altruism, or whatever the hell it was called. And he was like, we must do whatever, anything is good as long as it leads to
The ends justify the means.
ends justify the
Classic.
means, basically.
But it would do.
We're going to give it all away at the end.
Yeah, and
But we're
you
going to
know,
live in
on one hand he's
in
like,
the meantime.
he's doing, literally, like on one hand he's doing these videos. I remember there's this video. This guy's like, can you believe this guy? He's a multi-billion trillionaire, and he drives like a second-hand, Nissan or whatever. But then, like, you see these other things about how he's. What was he having these polycule relationships in the Bahamas on
Lived in a
the
$40 million
beachfront
penthouse.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't really fair enough. If you got realistically, if you got a shitload of money, you're gonna live somewhere decent, I guess. Unless you're Elon Musk, and he was living in like one of those pop-up homes for a while and eating peanut butter sandwiches for 3 meals a day. But anyway, we've fully diverged here.
Oh, digressed.
Yep.
Diverged.
What were we talking about? In fact, CZ. So. Yeah, I guess the other thing. So he's still not officially back at Binance either. So we spoke about this like maybe a month ago, where back in September he removed the ex-Binance CEO tag from his Twitter handle, like from his Twitter bio. Sorry, and so everyone was like, "Oh shit, okay, he's back." Like it just said Binance instead of ex-Binance, but he still hasn't. Nothing's been announced. Like he's still just sort of. I guess back at Binance, but he's not the CEO. He's still that Robert. No, I can't remember the guy. There's some other CEO now. He's been the CEO since he
Someone
left.
Tang, right?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Richard Tang
Anyway,
or something?
Richard. I think that's it. Yeah.
But the
Robert
Binance-
Palmer's on my head.
Robert Palmer.
No, not Robert Palmer. Robert McGrath. Sorry.
Hey, R.I.P. Robert Palmer.
Yeah.
That guy was great.
Long live Robert McGrath.
So I don't know. Like we also were talking about this pardoning thing. So apparently on Polymarkets, look, CZ getting pardoned has now shut up SBF's chances, or Polymarket odds of getting it from 1% to 12%, which I still think is outrageous. If he gets pardoned, I'm like, his pardon systems are rot.
Yeah, no. That guy's actively in jail. It's not like he sort of did his time and whatever. He's in jail and he needs to stay in jail. Case closed. Throw away the key.
Yeah, he's got to do his time. I don't even think he got that long. How long did he get?
I actually don't know.
Was it two?
No.
How long did SBF get?
SBF. How long did
I think it was
SBF?
like 30 years. But he'll get, I presume that'll get brought down to like 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's probably not in there stabbing people.
No, probably not.
Maybe he is.
Unless he is with the pickle.
He's, I'm sure he's in there teaching like the inmates how to trade Mac. But
is that AI?
or maybe he's. Oh, there'd be loads of AI pictures now because he would be like I said before. He's probably in there just getting really. He's probably in there just exercising. He's
so pumped.
he'll have like a
Fully
shaved
shredded,
head, prison tats, and he'll come out like really, just ripped, like and maybe he'll get out in 15 years on good behaviour or 10 years of good behaviour.
Yeah, and it'll be like that.
But
It'll be like the Mark
lost people.
Zuckerberg transition, like where he was this sort of robot dog, and then he people saw him with like a chain around his neck, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's so dreamy."
There was, I heard a story. I'm sure I've digressed in this story before. Just after FTX went down, I remember meeting with a guy. This is after Token in Singapore a few years back, and he was saying that he had all his crypto on FTX. He had participated in a number of equity rounds in FTX, and he'd convinced his wife that, she should support the business that they're trading on. So convince her to move her crypto into FTX as well, right? And he was telling me the story. I felt so bad for this guy, and I hope he got me money's back because this is one of the baddest beats I think I've heard. And he was telling me about. So basically, he had been telling, and I'm sure anyone who's been married might, sympathise with this story. They were looking for a house and whatever. And he's like, we've hit the jackpot. We can buy a house in, we're going to buy one in the south of France. We can buy one in Bali. We can buy one in wherever they're staying. I won't give too much away. You know what I mean? And that was all on the basis that, they would realize some equity value from FTX and their crypto was worth something at this point. And of course, gone the lot. So anyway, just for that guy
That's so
alone,
bad.
SBF, you can stay in jail.
Just for that guy. Everyone
Let
else.
alone the billions of other and millions
Go
of
to
other
hell.
people you ripped off. There's one true real life story of
Yeah.
that's
I mean, that's
that's a
poor risk
bad-
management in the end.
it is
but,
bad risk
yeah.
management, but
That is, horrible
you don't.
story.
I guess party risk management should be from. You're not always protecting against major fraud.
No,
Anyway,
definitely not.
all right,
Okay.
let's
Let's write down what you.
wrap it up.
Where are we up to now?
We've still got news to go because we've been diverging, as Nick likes to say.
Diverge from the path of news. Makes sense.
Ripple is in its prime, so this is a pretty big acquisition. And Ripple bought the guys out at Hidden Roads, their prime broker. So the guys there absolutely smashed it. So they bought that prime broker. I think they're almost through. I don't think it's fully closed yet, but it's more or less going through at 1.25 billion US. That acquisition was in April. I believe it's about to go through, or just completed, which is good news for both Ripple. Good luck to both of them, and hope it's a great partnership. Anything else to add on that?
So Hidden Roads, as you mentioned before, we know these guys. They've been bought. It's now called Ripple Prime. It basically is kind of adding like another feather in Ripple's cap. So they're not just this ODL group now. They now are able to do custody through another company. They're able to do sort of leverage trading through Hidden Roads.
Yep.
They're really branching out. They're not
Yep.
sort of...
For those who aren't familiar with Ripple, the ODL, that stands for on-demand liquidity, and
Yes.
just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So it used to be called, I think, Ripple X or X. No, there used to be another name for the ODL product, but essentially what it is they were basically attacking the SWIFT network, which means they want to be able to take away, or they want to be able to offer people the ability to send remittances overseas. So send money overseas quickly, cheaply, etc. SWIFT is the sort of incumbent in that space. And SWIFT can take, up to 2 days. There's like a whole network. So often when you're doing a SWIFT transfer, it's not just going from bank A to bank B. Bank, B might not actually have a direct SWIFT account, so they have to use, bank A.5 in the middle or bank C in the middle, and then, so there can be this sort of thing. It takes longer. It costs money. The intermediary banks in the middle will often take a cut of the funds, usually like $25 or something. And so, Ripple were like, hey, we can fix this with crypto. And so they built this ODL product. And it's been around for a long time. ODL runs out of Independent Reserve for our Singapore offering. So, we're like the Singapore, I don't know what you call it, like the ODL node, ODL hub. And any ODL flows coming in or out of Singapore go through us. So they're basically sort of spreading their wings a little bit and doing other things now than ODL. How does this have anything to do with XRP, the token? I honestly don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I found it kind of interesting that Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, was kind of boasting about all of these acquisitions they've done. I'm not sure if you remember back in the day, but Ripple, like it was kind of a meme whenever Ripple sort of talked about these purchases or acquisitions or partnerships. There's things would come out in the news, and back then there was this thing called the XRP Army. I actually don't know if that still exists.
They're still kicking around. They're surely still kicking around.
I'm sure, class of 2017, XRP Army is still around, but are they, do they sit there and cause as much noise as they used to? Probably, just like a lot of other noises as well, drowning them out. But my point is, XRP Army would really latch onto any of these kind of announcements and, go, look at this, it's real world usage and stuff like that. And in the end, it sort of turned out that Ripple was actually just, they just bought a stake in a company. And it wasn't as amazing as it sort of was purported to be. This stuff seems a lot more like, where's this money that Ripple is using to buy all these companies that they've done in the last couple of years? Where does that money come from? Well, I'll let the listener figure that out. It should be pretty obvious, but they've now bought some pretty major companies that allow them to do other things in the space. They're not just this ODL company. Previously, I guess their acquisitions were more around companies that sat around this ODL idea. So MoneyGram was the famous one back in 2020. I'm going to say they took a stake in MoneyGram. MoneyGram earned a bunch of money from Ripple for doing a bunch of providing liquidity to this ODL process. And everyone was like, oh, that's it. MoneyGram is using ODL for stuff, and it wasn't actually true. Well, not, yeah, like there was definite nuance to this. And I think the MoneyGram partnership ended in like 2021 maybe, or 2022, can't remember. Yeah, so anyway, this is just more of the same, I feel like. However, it is a big deal. This is a massive purchase. Ripple can now say that they have, like, you know, a non-bank prime brokerage under their belt, which is a pretty big deal. We just have to see what they're going to do with it, really. Find out what their actual plans are. They've renamed it to Ripple Prime, so it's not Hidden Roads anymore. Let's find out.
Good news. All right, well, what's on for the week ahead, Nick? I better give the viewers a bit more of that. We've got a lot coming up. There's the opening party for the Australian CryptoCon, which is if you haven't checked it out. Well, I don't know how many people are on listening, but if you plan to come to the ACCs, you should also probably check out the Independent Reserve Party, which is happening on the opening party, which is happening the night before. It should be a good night. Should be a very good night.
We'll also be broadcasting live.
Oh yes, so
from Oz CryptoCon.
Yeah, we're going to be at the crypto. So we're going to be. Oh, Nick, this is you.
Just kidding.
You tell us all about it, Nick, because you know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're live right now. There's no difference. We're just going to be broadcasting from maybe a different location. Come along and see us. You know, if you've got something interesting to talk about, we'll have you on the pod, I guess. I don't see why we shouldn't. Hopefully we don't get anything crazy. But yeah.
The crazier the better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it'll be fun.
What are you doing for Halloween, importantly?
That's a great question, actually. I dressed up in my wizard costume we've talked about before. From the Taproot Wizards, it got a second run. It was good. Kids are a little bit scared, a little bit interested. My hat got stolen immediately by some kid.
Dang.
No, I got it back, don't worry. But like, I let them wear it for a bit. You know, they ran around with it. It was pretty cool, and actually fit their head as opposed to my head, where it's definitely a kid's hat. It's not made for an adult size head.
The trick or treating's happening this Friday.
Yeah, so this is a pre-party we went to because some of my friends are not in for the actual time. But yeah, so the pre-party was good, and I guess I'll be wearing it a third time on actual Halloween maybe.
I'm so excited. I love Halloween. I think it's awesome. It's you get to go out, you get to go hang out. Like some streets, I've got a friend, and now they've just bought a place, and on that street, there's part of the, I don't think there's a official agreement that says you have to do Halloween, but it's expected, this street. So you've now bought in the street, and they kind of said, you know, part of this street, part of buying into the street means that there's going to be a lot of social pressure.
You don't want to be the one house that's not doing it. Yeah.
To participate in, you know, the Halloween, you know, this street gets blocked off and you have to do it. And, you know, awesome to those people who do it, because like I'm too lazy to go and set all that stuff up and spray fake cobwebs around there, because it'll just be more junk that lives in, you know, my underfloor.
Well, you can't do it when you got young kids, because when you got young kids, you got to go out there and trick or treat. But when your kids get older, that's when you become the house.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually taking your kids out.
That's actually very true.
So if you transition into the...
That's actually very true.
The giver, not the taker.
Last year I saw some awesome efforts. Like this guy, like from his driveway, he had like his garage. He had like a giant smoke machine or whatever that's just billowing out smoke, so you couldn't see in it. Okay. And so what he was doing was just kind of like waiting for like a curious kind of like trick or treater to like poke their head towards where the smoke was coming from the shed, the garage, and then he would start up a chainsaw and come running out in like this like Halloween costume. It scared me, and it's absolutely terrified the kids.
I mean, imagine
it was the best.
Imagine if police was there, like they'd probably arrest him. Some guy running out of the thing with live chainsaw.
No, he'd taken the chain off. It was clear that he had he'd taken the safety precaution, but the sound of it was terrifying. And of course, he had the big scary mask and stuff on, and like, you know what I mean. And then like it was amazing. Anyway, that was one that stood out. But there was heaps of good events. So good on you for all those people out there who are doing that stuff. I can't wait to go trick or treating.
Just wear an extra pair of undies just in case. Yeah.
Alrighty, we have done one well over time. So thank you again for all stopping by. Comments, likes, subscribes, whatever you can to help us. If you can comment and all that kind of stuff, it's great. We'll get back to you. And we'll see you next week post-Halloween with some more stories. All right, cheers.
Until then.
Nope.